Hello, welcome to another Linux Terminal Commands for Beginners tutorial. For this video I will be talking about changing file and directory permissions with chmod command using octal notation. Let's open up the terminal. On the previous video I used the symbolic notation to change permissions with chmod. It looked like chmod u for owner plus rwx G plus RWX, O minus RWX, file. This stood for adding read, write, and run access for the owner, adding read, write, and run access for the group, and removing read, write, and run access for other for a certain file. Now for this video I'll be going over the octal notation way of changing permissions with chmod. It would sort of look like this. You've probably seen this notation before in a Linux class or book. Similar to binary where it's just zeros or ones, octal is base 8, so the valid numbers are between 0 and 7. When counting a base number system, we don't start at 1, we start at 0, hence why base 8 is 0 through 7. With that being said, let's get started. I'm going to change directories to one I made just for this video, cd chmod ls. And open up another terminal window to view a file I made to make this video easier to follow. Okay, with the explanation to the right, it pretty much tells you that chmod 755 file becomes rwx, r-x, and r-x permissions. Let's try it on test.txt, but first let's check its original permissions, ls-l. So the original permissions for test.txt are read-write for the owner, read-write for the group, and just read-only for the other. And we want to change it to read-write-run for the owner, read-run for the group, and read-run for other. And now we see that we've changed the permissions for test.txt to the same ones we have right here. Now this is the part that I explain how it works. Bear with me as some of you may find the concept extremely simple. Each permission type, R, W, and X, read, write, and run, are represented by a number within the octal system. For read, it's represented by 4. For write, it's represented by 2. And for run, it's represented by 1. The 3 option digits after chmod represent a permission for each type of user. The first digit represents permissions for the owner. The second digit represents permissions for the group. The third digit represents permission for other. So for this example, the owner permission numbers are represented by 7. The group permission numbers are represented by 5, and the other permission numbers are represented by 5 again. Now how do we come up with these numbers? Well, for each permission you want to add the corresponding permission numbers on each permission you want together. For example, if you want read, write, and run access, you add 4 for read, 2 for write, and 1 for run together. 4 plus 2 plus 1 equals 7. For our example, we see the first digit is 7. That equates to giving read, write, and run access for the file's owner. Say we want read and run permissions but no write, so r-x. We look at the corresponding numbers again. We want read and run, so 4 plus 1. We don't add write, and we get 5. Say you want to give r-x permission to the group, then enter 5 on the second number spot, which changes group permissions. This is pretty simple. I'm sure you guys are getting the idea now. Following the example, let's do r-x or read run only permissions again for others. So 4 r read plus 1x run equals 5. So running chmod command with the number 755 on file will give us these permissions: read, write, and run on the owner, read and run for the group, read and run for the others. Now that you know how it works, let's do another one. Let's change the permissions of lorem.txt to run only for the owner, read only for the group, and read, write, and run for other. I know this seems like a wacky permission type where we give full read and write permissions to outside users and limit the file owner and group's permission on the file, but this seems like a good type of number combination for an octal notation example. Enter chmod. For the first digit, which represents the owner, we only want run access, so we add 1. For the second number, we are doing group permissions, and because we only want read access, we add only 4. For the other, we want read, write, and run, so we do read 4 plus write 2 plus run 1, which is 7. And then we enter the file we want to change permissions of, lorem.txt. Now we lsl, and we'll see the permissions for lorem.txt have been changed. Run only for the owner, read only for the group, and read, write, and run for other. It's pretty intuitive how one performs chmod with octal permissions. You basically only have to remember the numbers 4, 2, and 1. 4 for read, 2 for write, and 1 for run. Then add the corresponding numbers for the permissions you want enabled, and that single number will represent the permissions for owner, group, and other. This is a much faster way than the symbolic method, and I suggest learning to use chmod this way as it occupies very little memory on our brains. Just remember the numbers 4, 2, and 1. Give it a try. You'll probably master this technique in 5 minutes, maybe even less. To summarize, we used chmod command to change permissions on a file using the octal notation method. This concludes my Linux Terminal for Beginners tutorial, chmod octal permissions. For more information on chmod command, check out its manual page at man-chmod.
Here are some more Linux for Beginners videos. Also, please like or subscribe, but only if you want to. And lastly, thanks for watching.